in a very simple term, we can say glacier is moving ice. Finally, we have Z-gang. Z-gang are tabular masses with a layer of soft rocks which are lying beneath the surface of a hard rock. And it has a long ridge and furrow landscape, just like the Adsense. Climate and its classification. We'll see some systems that have been adopted over time for classification of climate. But before then, we'll talk about some factors which are responsible for the variations in climatic conditions as we move from one part of the world to another. And one of these factors include the latitude. And what does latitude mean? Latitude here refers to the location of a place on the Earth's surface with respect to the equator. Now, tropical latitudes where the sun is high, tend to have a hotter temperature than lower latitudes where the sun's altitude is low. So, with these variations in latitude, that's in location of a particular place, on the Earth's surface, some places are located such that they have or they experience a higher intensity of the sun than in some places. So these differences in their location also contributes or leads to variations in the climatic condition or status of a particular place. Now, another factor is altitude. Altitude here has to do with the height of a place above the sea level. Now, you discover that the higher one moves into the atmosphere, the temperature, decreases. And this decrease in temperature is usually about 6.5 degrees Celsius for every 1,000 meter, ascent. As you move higher into the atmosphere, for every 1,000 meter, there is a temperature decrease. And this is referred to as a normal lapse rate. Number 3 factor here is continentality. Continentality has to do with the distance from sea, distance from the sea. The further the inland is from the sea, the less the rainfall. So these are factors that contribute or that are responsible for the variations in climatic status as we move from one place to another. We also have factors like ocean currents. Ocean currents can affect the climate of adjacent coastlands. Now, cold currents lower the temperature of the coastline. It is very obvious. A situation where we have cold currents, definitely the temperature of the adjacent coastlands, as in the lands that are adjacent to movement of this ocean current, tend to experience reduction or decrease in temperature. Another factor is slope and aspect. Steep slopes experiences more rapid changes in temperature than gentle slopes. We also have cloud cover as another factor. Cloud reduces the amount of solar radiation that is reaching or that reaches the Earth's surface, and the amount as well that escapes from the Earth's surface. Finally, we have natural vegetation and soil. In a thick or heavily forested area, the intensity of the sun coming down, is cut off by the leaves of this forest, of these trees. And such reduces the temperature of that area. So in the forest area, the temperature is cool and it's lower than that of an open ground or open soil. Let us consider climatic types. One climatic type here we have is the hot climate. Hot climate, there are two types of hot climate. We have the equatorial climate and the tropical, continental or Sudan climate. So let's look at them one after the other in detail. The equatorial climate. This climate is located within 5 degrees north and south of the equator. Areas with this type of climate include the Amazon basin of South America, the Sahara basin of Central Africa, and the coast of West Africa. You can see from this illustration, from this diagram or picture here, the equatorial climate region. You can see regions with the equatorial climate. Regions with this green color represent the equatorial climate regions. Let's look at the second one, the second type of the hot climate, which is the tropical, continental or Sudan climate. The tropical or the Sudan climate is located between 5 degrees and 20 degrees north and 5 degrees to 20 degrees south of the equator. Areas where we have this type of climate include Central America, West Africa, and some parts of East Africa, as well as Northern Australia. Another type of climate is the cold climate. You know, the previous one we talked about was a hot climate. Now this is the cold climate. Two types of cold climate are the polar climate and the tundra climate. The polar climate is found around 90 degrees north and south of the equator, especially around the northern and the southern poles. Now, areas where this type of climate could be found are in the interior parts of the Greenland, the Iceland, and the Antarctica. Now, the second type of cold climate is the tundra climate. The tundra climate is located around 60 to 90 degrees north and south of the equator, especially around the Arctic and the Antarctic circles. Areas where this type of climate is found are in northern Canada, Alaska, parts of Eurasia, and Antarctica. Desert climates are the third type of climate we'll be looking at. And there are two types of desert climates. One, we have the hot desert climate. Two, we have the cold desert climate. The hot desert climate, is the desert areas of the world, and they are usually located on the western coast of the continent within latitude 15 degrees and 30 degrees north and south of the equator. Areas with such climates, are the Sahara deserts in North Africa, the Arabian Desert of Arabia, the Iranian Desert in Iran, and the Namib and Kalahari deserts in South Africa. We also have the cold desert climates. Cold desert climates are found in the interior of the continent around 45 to 60 degrees north and south of the equator. Areas here with this type of climate include the Eurasia, in North America, and of course South America. Now let's look at systems of classification of climates. The common systems of classification of climate are: one, now we have the Greeks system of climatic classification, and two, we have the Köppen's system of climate classification. Let's talk about the Greek system of climate classification. In the Greek system of climate classification, we consider it as one of the earliest systems of classification of climate designed by the Greek people. And the basis for the Greek system of climate classification is temperature. This system divides the world into 3 climatic zones, which are the torrid zone, usually found within the tropics, within the Tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of Capricorn. The second zone is the temperate zone. The temperate zone is found between the arid and frigid zone. This zone is also called middle latitude. And the last climatic zone created by the Greek system of climate classification is the frigid zone. The frigid zone is found in the polar regions. These are the Arctic and the Antarctic regions. You can see from the figure here a comprehensive system of classification by the Greek people of climate. You see the torrid zone, temperate zone, and the frigid zone. The torrid zone lies mid of around the equator. Overhead it and below it immediately we have the temperate zone and the frozen zone around the poles. This system of classification has some advantages. So let's look at few advantages of the Greek classification system. Number one advantage is that it is very simple to comprehend. And the second one here is that it is still in use today, although with some modifications where necessary. However, there are some disadvantages, or if you like, some criticisms of